In the shadows of the Imperial Japanese Army's reign during World War II, a dark and deeply disturbing chapter unfolded. The horrible reality of women and girls forced into sexual slavery is revealed through the awful condition of comfort women, also known as comfort girls. In conquered countries and territories, Japanese troops coerced and brutalized these innocent victims. Their accounts of unspeakable anguish and the scope of this widespread evil demand our attention and recall. But who were these comfort women? How did the Imperial Japanese Army degrade and exploit hundreds of thousands of women from Korea, the Philippines, Vietnam, China, and elsewhere? What horrors did they face, and what were the long-term effects of this horrible crime? The sad truth behind the forced prostitution of comfort women is revealed in the rest of the video, putting light on the unimaginable depths of human misery and the critical necessity to respect the stories they share. Brace up as we expose the terrifying realities of their life and solve the disturbing mysteries that have long remained in the darkness. The term comfort women has come to symbolize one of the most horrific and extensive cases of government-sanctioned human trafficking and sexual slavery in modern history. Estimates regarding the number of women involved vary, but it is widely agreed that hundreds of thousands of individuals fell prey to this abhorrent system. Shockingly, girls as young as 12 were forced into sexual slavery, their innocence and dignity ruthlessly violated. While many victims hailed from Korea and China, women from Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, East Timor, the Dutch East Indies, and even European women in Japanese-occupied territories were also subjected to this brutal fate. It is crucial to note that the comfort women issue is not merely a matter of historical significance. It is an ongoing struggle for justice and acknowledgement. The victims and the organizations tirelessly advocating on their behalf have demanded an apology from the Japanese government, reparations for the atrocities they endured, and the recognition of their suffering. The establishment of comfort stations began in 1932, with the first one established in Shanghai. Subsequently, these stations spread across Japan, China, the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaya, Thailand, Burma, East New Guinea, Hong Kong, Macau, French Indochina, and other regions. The Japanese Imperial Army implemented and maintained the comfort women system as it exercised power and control over East Asia in the early 20th century. It also included the colonization of Taiwan, the annexation of Korea, and the establishment of a puppet government in Manchuria. The evidence points to the direct involvement and control of the Japanese military over this system of sexual slavery. Official Japanese military records and personal memoirs provide undeniable testimony. For instance, Okabe Nasoburo, a senior staff officer in the Shanghai Expeditionary Force, detailed the establishment of a comfort station in the Shanghai area in 1932 in his diary. Meanwhile, Yong-Soo Lee was one of the comfort women, and her narrative is a moving tribute to the horrors that comfort women faced throughout World War II. Lee, who was born into a poor family in Daegu, Korea in the early 1940s, had her life turned upside down when she became embroiled in the web of Japanese occupation. Lee had to forego her education and begin working in a factory at the age of 13 in order to support her poor family. She had no idea that her path would soon cross with terrible sorrow. A Japanese guy appeared at her house in the autumn of 1944, when she was only 16 years old, and summoned her to step outside. She was taken away forcibly by Japanese soldiers, who had no idea where she was going or why she had been kidnapped. Separated from her familiar surroundings, Lee found herself in the company of 3 other girls, equally bewildered and terrified. They were herded onto a train, embarking on a harrowing journey from Gyeongju to Pyongyang province in northern Korea. The journey alone was marred by unrelenting abuse from Japanese soldiers, who mercilessly beat and kicked them, causing Lee to lose consciousness at times. Their torment continued as they boarded a ship, bound for Dalian, Shanghai, and ultimately Taiwan. Throughout the voyage, Lee and her companions were subjected to rape, beatings, and unspeakable torture. Arriving at the comfort station in Taiwan, their worst fears materialized. They were thrust into a nightmarish existence, forced to cater to the insatiable desires of 4 or 5 men each day. Tragically, Lee was never compensated for these degrading acts. The Japanese military's rules of use for military comfort stations ostensibly prohibited abuse against comfort women, but the reality was far bleaker. Daily violence inflicted by comfort station operators and soldiers was rampant, while the women themselves were left defenseless and powerless. The presence of detailed regulations governing the operation of comfort stations is a chilling testament to the Japanese military's direct control. These regulations stipulated medical examinations, fee schedules for soldiers and officers of different ranks, and even the mandatory use of condoms. Such oversight by the military leaves no room for doubt regarding their active involvement in the system of sexual enslavement. The personal stories of victims further illuminate the horrors endured. Natsue Takita, a 19-year-old Komachian worker whose relatives had perished in the war, responded to an advertisement seeking an office worker. Tragically, she was deceived and informed that the only available positions were for comfort women. Through manipulation and coercion, she was persuaded to accept the offer. Kaburagi Kiyoshi, a Japanese journalist who researched comfort women extensively, recounted that Takita tragically ended her own life by jumping in front of a train just days after the brothel commenced operations. The truth about forced prostitution for Japanese soldiers in World War II reveals a dark chapter of history that remained largely undocumented and unnoticed for decades. As Japan grappled with the aftermath of the war, the enslavement of women as comfort women was downplayed and dismissed as a distasteful remnant of the past that people wished to forget. By the end of 1945, with approximately 350,000 U.S. troops occupying Japan, the demand for sexual services surged. The Recreation and Amusement Association, a government-sponsored organization, employed an estimated 70,000 prostitutes to cater to the needs of American soldiers. The RAA was just one aspect of a much larger picture, as private brothels outside the official system likely operated on an even greater scale, although concrete evidence is difficult to ascertain. Once the women were coerced into the brothels, their lives took a devastating turn. They were subjected to brutal and inhumane conditions and forced to engage in sexual acts with their captors. Each woman's experience was unique, but their testimonies share haunting similarities: repeated rapes, escalating brutality before battles, excruciating physical pain, pregnancies, sexually transmitted diseases, and a sense of despair under bleak conditions. The number of women enslaved in at least 125 brothels during this period is estimated to range from 20 to 410,000. Shockingly, it is believed that by the end of World War II, approximately 90% of these comfort women had perished. Sexually transmitted infections, complications from violent treatment at the hands of Japanese soldiers, or self-inflicted deaths caused by their unbearable circumstances all took their lives. Japan's post-war reconstruction efforts largely swept this dark history under the rug, as the nation aimed to distance itself from its wartime atrocities. Simultaneously, the women who had been forcibly subjected to sexual slavery became outcasts in society. Their stories went untold, their suffering unnoticed. Even after World War II, military brothels continued to exist in Japan. In 2007, Associated Press reporters uncovered that the U.S. authorities had allowed comfort stations to operate well beyond the war's end. Tens of thousands of women in these brothels were forced into sexual servitude with American men until General Douglas MacArthur eventually shut down the system in 1946. The stories of Young Soo Lee, Natsue Takita, and numerous more comfort women are dreadful reminders of the unimaginable misery endured during World War II. Their accounts represent the atrocities inflicted on innocent people, as well as the survivors' continuous resistance. Recognizing and addressing the issue of comfort women has been a long and tough journey. For many years, their voices were silenced, and their experiences went unnoticed. The story of Japanese soldiers forced into prostitution is a stark reminder of the price of war and the crimes committed against defenseless people. We must shed light on this heinous past, not only to honor the victims' memories, but also to ensure that similar atrocities never occur again. Their experiences should serve as a wake-up call, reminding us of the ongoing fight for justice and the importance of ensuring human rights for all.